Would you say?
You on here, Mr. Chairman?
Okay, we've got a new break.
I call to order the Berlin Township Trustees regular meeting for May 12th, 2025 to order. Please come and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll.
Trustee O'Brien.
Here.
Trustee Rail.
Here.
Trustee Bullard.
That takes us to public comment. If there's any public comment, this would be the time. Hearing none, we will go to approval of minutes. Do we have any for consideration?
Don't have any new. I would point out that I did, however, get all of the August through the end of December finished, and to Stephanie, and I believe they are on the website now, and I'll have January up on the website here in the next week.
Okay, excellent. And then we'll have them sign it every meeting.
That'll take a little while longer. That's a process that's very tedious. I'll get actual hard papers to you to sign as soon as I can.
Okay, thank you. That takes us to road department, Shanahan Road Project.
We have Doug Riedel joining us from the engineer's office this evening to discuss the Shanahan Road project.
Thank you, trustees. As you know, both Orange and Berlin Township signed a cooperative agreement to address Shanahan Road, and then subsequent to that agreement getting signed, both townships were interested in pursuing a shared use path on the south side of the road, which is in Orange Township. We have an amended agreement that outlines some of the changes that need to be made to the cooperative agreement originally signed to address the path and the cost sharing for that path, and also we've changed a little bit of language as far as the completion date, moving back to December 1st of 2027. Are there any questions that I can address from the board?
So I noticed Michelle Bonney's signature. Is that the Orange's passed?
Orange has, yes, Ken, Orange has passed the amended agreement that they're meeting back on April 4th.
That's the one question I had.
I make a motion that we approve amendment number 1, property purchase project agreement, improvements to Shanahan Road, and signed by the fiscal officer and Melissa Schiffel, dated 4/30/25.
Second, and just to know, it's for 1/2025, that Melissa Schiffel signed it. Right here. It says, am I looking at it wrong?
That's the approval for Orange Township was on 4/1.
I'm reading it one time.
It's part of the agreement, but it's second page.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, so, thank you. So it's been moved by trustee Bullard, seconded by trustee Real. Discussion. Please call the roll.
Rail.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Bullard.
Yes. Now, we need to appropriate $168,000.
I think we need to appropriate $150,000.
If I may address that, the $168,000 for half the path doesn't need to be appropriated, or that would be up to the township, but I wouldn't anticipate that payment being made until we get 30 days within the time that we award a contract. It won't be until next year.
But it is set for 168 regardless of what.
It is set at, it's set at $168,000 based on our estimate. Now, if the actual cost is below that amount, we'll reimburse each township equally, or if it goes above that amount, we will let you know once the bid comes in, and then we'll have to address how that extra cost is divided between the townships.
So, but for tonight, we need to do 150.
The $150,000, yes, is due by June 30th of 2025 for I guess, the original agreement that addresses strictly the road itself.
So I know that it's made out to the county, but to whom do we release?
You can make it out to the Delaware County engineer,
Okay,
the payment,
and send it to you all.
send it to our office, yes. That would work.
I move that we approve appropriation of $100,000 to the county engineer for the payment in accord with the resolution of our change.
Second.
Moved by the chair, second by trustee Rail. Discussion. Please call the roll.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Rail,
Yes.
Bullard,
Yes.
Anything else on Shannon?
I got an email just a little while ago, that gave me news to everybody that OPWC had approved the program and we're moving forward. We're all expecting it to be approved, but this is a confirmation from OPWC that it is approved.
Excellent.
That's in the-
Takes us to Curve Road.
So I don't know if you guys have drove Curve Road recently, but the edges are starting to roll off over the winter and heavy truck traffic. I've talked to Doug and I went through John Hoffman at the county who handles all the capital improvement, he's the engineer for capital improvements. We have approximately a $30,000 contingency set aside from the current program. So what John suggested was what is marked out there, if you guys drive it, is about $30,000 worth of repairs. We can go a little higher, a little less, if you guys give me a dollar amount of what you want to cover. And then if something happens, the main contingency is for Sherman, the estates of Sherman Lakes, where we're milling and paving, that is non-curb and gutter. If we have to get additional, we'll just come back for the actual amount needed at the end of the program cycle.
So my thought on that is I don't really want to base it on the dollar amount. I want to base it on the need. So if there is more need, I want us to spend more. If there's less need, I want to spend less. That's my personal opinion because I don't want to lose the road.
Right. So there's nothing that we have to do money. I mean, I can go out there and double check what John did. Usually he does a pretty good job of marking that stuff
I saw.
out. So it's more of a,
There's one section that is by the curve. It doesn't really help, does it? In front of James' property or.
is that the one about halfway down?
Address.
It's where the white car is.
About 20, maybe 1,800, between 1,800 and 2,000. There's no house there. But there's one section that is marked and then there's a little pause and there's another section. And I wonder if it would be, driving it at 50 miles an hour, I don't really know, is it really that close? But it seems like if it is real close, then it'll just be one patch.
Right, I'll look at it and see.
But I don't know. I just want whatever structurally makes sense.
Okay. This was more of a heads up, just to let you know that we may have to come back for more money if something happens in states of Sherman. So I'm just going to go to the dollar amount for now. If we have to, we may have to come back for a little more money.
There's two ways to approach the repair. We could look at a greater patch, or we could look at this in-depth repair. What we're looking at is in-depth repair and the cost could make it, makes a better repair and it's not going to be significant more than what greater patching would have been. Put that in there. So grind it out, fill it back in and make it a good repair, a solid repair. So, and at this point, nothing is required other than just give me a heads up that it's in there and that we added it and it should fit in the money that we have appropriated when you use the contingency to do that. So, and most of the contingency, I'm not too worried about getting into because most of the work we're working on is the rejuvenation spray on roads and that sort of thing. So it's not stuff that's going to be or have risk of increasing costs. So if you just spray them, sealer and stuff, it doesn't, it's pretty low risk.
You know, when
Fair statement?
you're digging in, you don't necessarily know what you're digging into. But
Correct.
it'll just make people more quantity because, you know, the measurement of the road never is right because when you repave it, it gets wider than it was before, unless it breaks off and then it's narrower than it was before. So you don't really know the square footage until you actually do it.
Mhm.
But a thought that I had for way after I'm gone, I might be back by the time we get to this. I actually I read an article where you said invite me and then you wound up back with me. Is that if the city were to annex and we're still tipping it, I would like to see the road match where it goes from the railroad to Lackey Old State and redo that. Because that road is really not meant for what the city is going to do to that road. And it would be paid for by where they annex it, so it really is doing exactly what it should do, is pay for the road that they're using.
As long as they annex to the center of the road.
Well, but they won't, you know that. But what we're tiffing is not that, but it will pay for it. Now, the problem is it won't maintain it after the TIF, because the TIF can only be used for construction, that type of thing. You can't use it for continuing maintenance. I wish we could. But every time that it breaks down, we can widen it and then reconstruct it. So, but you know, you're talking 30, 40 years from now. Anything else on curve?
And then moving on to, looking at, clearing the ditch there, alongside the road and see where that takes us.
Dale Ford,
Before
is
putting
it?
in a call
It's not on the agenda, but
across the
it's a
road.
good
And
thing.
the clearing the ditch is about $700, so it's not, that's within spending limits, we're all to get that done.
But if we need to approve it now, I mean, because it just, that's something that we should do, is clean it out so that we don't get a mess. Do you want to approve money so that you don't spring down there spending them out?
Wouldn't hurt to do that, so I make a motion that we appropriate, $700.
Thank you.
Why don't you make it 800 just in case?
Okay, let's make it $800, for cleaning the ditch along, Dale Ford Road.
Second.
Moved by trustee Bullard, seconded by trustee Whale. Discussion, please call the roll.
Bullard,
Yes.
Rail,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes. You want to do the snow and ice removal?
Yes, but one more, goodness, other thing. If you look at, Pyatt Road, just north of Peachville Road, which is there by the church, the road's starting to, roll up pretty bad where the trucks are stopping and pushing the road along. We're probably going to have to do some repair there, probably sooner than later. We'd like to do it as part of the, putting in the roundabout, but that roundabout's probably 2 years away. At least that was the thing that I was told. But you got something sooner than that?
I don't have that paper in front of me right now, but I believe we're moving forward next year with that.
Hopefully the road will stay together.
And that's my recommendation, is let me check to make sure that it's next year, and if that is the case, I would not recommend doing anything as far as repairing that now. I know it is starting to push and shove, but it's, you know, we'll come in there and tear that all out in a year. I'm not
There's
sure
a lot
it's,
of big trucks starting to use it and, starting or continuing to use it, but we're also getting a significant increase in the number of school buses moving to schools and all the traffic there. So the road itself, when you drive it, you'll notice what I'm talking about. Just want you to know that that's on the radar to be looked at.
So I've noticed, you know, we talked about the increased traffic on the Peach Road. And we thought that that was caused by this detour, but it's significant what's on Peach Road that comes at Pyatt. And I noticed when the two elementaries let out, that gets backed up like really far, really far. Especially when Peach Boat coming from, Shale, I always get Slate Hill, Shale Meadows mixed up.
Show those.
And,
Mhm.
Peachboro Crossing, they let out at the same time, and, you know,
I've seen that.
it's crazy.
Hmm.
So it's not real safe for, like, when safety equipment needs to get through there or whatever.
That's the comments I have.
Okay, so if it's not coming, you'll let, trustee board know,
Yes.
and then we can take action if we need to, and if not, we'll wait.
I would prefer to wait, it's better to do it all as part of the project. Whatever we do, there's probably gonna get torn up by the owner.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, whatever we do would be keep it in place until the project happens. Do we have anything else on the rules? Just for the chief.
Got the snow and ice removal in the mailbox policy. Snow and ice removal in the mailbox policy.
So would you like to address that?
Yes, so this has changes incorporated and there are no concerns from the prosecutor's office or attorney.
I sent my revisions. to
Yes,
you.
this is that document.
And
Familiar.
do you recommend its approval?
Yes.
I move that we approve the Berlin Township Snow and Ice Control Policy.
Second,
Moved by the chair, second by trustee Real, discussion.
of note, there was a resolution that we passed that had some similar snow policies written out in a primitive version, so this will replace that.
Okay. So if we could, let's make that a friendly amendment to repeal and replace.
Okay, I don't know what resolution it was that we had.
And this is an update to the current policy and replaces everything with the current policy. Like this is the new policy.
So moved by the chair, second by trustee Real, further discussion, please go roll.
Brian,
Yes.
Fuller,
Yes.
Rail.
Yes, good job, good work on this.
And I know we spent like 2 minutes on it because you guys spent like days on it, so thank you. Rather you than us. Okay, that takes us to,
Yes. It's just the monthly spending.
I move that we approve the appropriation of $1,179.30, which replenishes the roads fund for spending. Moved by the chair, seconded by trustee Brewer, discussion. Please call roll.
Fuller.
Yes.
Rail.
Yes,
O'Brien.
Yes.
I missed the whole thing. It was 1,509, which report is it the
$1,179.
Oh, it's the money, the expenses.
Yes.
Thank you, the monthly expense. I'm sorry.
So fire station, repair is under roads.
Yes,
Okay.
for its facilities item.
Okay, so would you like to address that? please?
Yes, so we submitted the claim to Otarma from late February. And we, because of the small amount of work, have really been struggling to get any contractors. We've reached out to everyone and they're unable. We have one more that is coming in the morning, but if we're unable to secure somebody in the morning, want the board's approval to be able to do a temporary repair ourselves. And we've already talked to Chief Taylor, talked to the claims specialist who said that we could do that and then do the more significant claim once we're able to continue looking for a contractor.
So will the insurance pay for what's upfront or what's later?
Yes.
Both.
Okay,
If there's any, I talked to Paul Seckel at First, and he said that any costs that we incur to make a temporary repair, just submit the invoice to him and it'll be part of the claim.
so I move that we authorize Administrator Hale to do temporary repairs on the fire station in regards to the damage that was done a few months ago. If unable to secure another method to get that accomplished.
second,
The amount of,
Do we have an amount?
It's gonna be paid by insurance, so really, I'll keep it under my fund. It ain't gonna be a lot of money, it's just gonna be time.
so if we, $1,000 to do it.
Okay, friendly amendment. All right,
Yes.
okay, from by the chair and seconded by trustee Wade. Further discussion?
I thought we had identified potential contractor who's willing to do work. Oh, okay,
Came out
We've
and
not had any luck finding anybody.
no, Melanie was not able to secure it.
really?
We had one stopping in the morning that, after I talked to Paul the other day, he contacted this gentleman and sent him out to take a look at it.
Okay.
At this point, I'm mildly hopeful.
We need to be able to use the bay door, so.
Yeah, really, that's, the bay door is the
That's
important
what I-
thing at this point. We haven't been able to use bay door since, February, so it'd be nice to have our bay back.
Building kind of loses its value if you can't use it. Right.
Function too.
So, yeah, we'd like to have the bay back. That's the reason for the temporary repair, and we can find somebody to do the long game.
Anything else for roads?
Make sure I got the motion right. It's appropriate $1,000 and authorize Administrator Hale to repair the fire station.
Yeah, if unable to secure someone else to. Further discussion, please call roll.
Rail,
Yes.
Bullard,
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes. Further roads. Okay, so that takes us to a possible executive session. I don't know.
I'm up to speed on.
Do you need an executive session?
At your discretion.
I know, but I don't know if you were, but it sounds like you're up to speed. If you don't have any questions, there's no reason.
I don't have any questions. I think that there's discussion of what we'd like to have further about these, and we're happy to do so. We do have our colleagues here with us.
I don't see any. So, that being said, we have before us a resolution. So I move a resolution approving the proposed settlement agreement with Sri Venezuela, Temple of Central Ohio and S&T Bank.
Second.
Moved by the chair and seconded by trustee Gale and fiscal officer, Jordan, you have a copy of this so you can put it in the minutes in its entirety.
Yeah, there were just a couple little typos, I don't know, like very insignificant, like page 1 of 3, 1 of 1,
Oh, no, that's.
Is it here in the packet?
this one.
Well, this one authorizes.
I've got an extra hard copy if we need to. Extra hard copy of it.
You're referencing this,
Settlement
right?
agreement rules.
Yes, that's
I've
what
got
we're.
That's what we're approving, but
But
then
it's referenced.
it references the settlement, I'm saying, and then in the settlement, it will have like, it has page 2 of 1, page 3 of 1, page 4 of 1, just like a couple tiny things that I missed. I don't know if I want
I think that's actually maybe on your copy, the copy that I have.
to. Okay, can I see your copy?
Sure.
Are there like 3 things that if it's correct, then we'll just ensure we're using that copy.
It's on the one that I have electronically too. It
Is it?
says 2 of 1, 3 of 1.
I don't know why I did that. It's like, I moved this out of the email.
Oftentimes when stuff comes across your results, it's numbered that way.
I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know. It's numbered correctly on our end. I will say that. I don't know what happens in cyberspace between here and there.
Now, is this, when it's agreed to, is it done in parts or do we send a signed copy, get a signed copy back?
I'll send them a signed copy and get a signed copy back.
Okay, and so then you'll have that and then you'll provide that to the fiscal officer?
Absolutely, yes.
There was just only one other, it's not even significant, just I just had a couple grammar
Oh,
things.
okay. All right.
But that's great.
So we'll be approving it with the grammar change.
Is it just the one?
It's just the one, and the initial one, there was like a couple of just missing periods and, but you know, in settlement agreements, you want to be as accurate and precise as possible, so.
Well, we all.
Just for clarification, earlier today sent a Word doc version to Aubrey that updates the resolution and the regular meeting today and today's date.
Yeah, it says May 12th at 5:30. Yeah, that's the one we have.
Okay, so, I'll take the votes. Did I move it? You seconded?
Yeah, you moved it, I seconded it, and that was for the resolution for the settlement that's referenced to. It was just, there were a couple grammar changes, all of them were resolved except for 191.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
We want to have fiscal officer put all the information and do all that. It doesn't have to be done from the meeting.
Well, we're gonna,
We have to sign it,
we're
and
gonna
then
sign
she
the
does tonight.
resolution, but that authorizes you to sign the settlement.
Okay, so,
So we do need to sign one.
okay. With the fiscal officer. on
Yes.
advice of the date resolution and all that.
Yes. So, Fiscal Officer Jordan, do you know the resolution number?
Yes, it's 25, the one right now is 25-5-7.
Okay, and then do you want to write on that one so that it's an official copy?
Today is May 12th.
If you want to fill this out, it was seconded by Trustee Rail, correct? And I moved it on. Okay, moved by the chair, seconded by Trustee Rail, further discussion? Please call the roll.
Rail,
Yes,
O'Brien,
Yes.
Bullard,
Yes.
And if I can, here's a copy for, to go ahead and sign it off that fiscal officer certificate on it for the court costs on that, which is, is this a copy of that?
Sign that one too. I'll just sign that.
Yes. If you print your name, flip the page. A date. Just put trustees there, date, and whatever the resolution is. This will be, just put trustee your title there. This is the date.
So you want to talk?
We'll be the window.
Yeah. This file is the date. Yeah. And whatever that resolution number was.
25-5-7. I will be right back.
And then this will be for the business officer, we sign this is just for the court file. Thank you to all of you for your help with this and getting this taken care of, for sure.
Okay,
Thanks for getting to us.
Absolutely. Like I said, we'll get that off to the other side and get you a signed copy back.
I asked Chief Taylor and Aubrey, but if you guys could give us a call in September before you put up the smoke signal. And we pick the new trustee.
I love that idea.
Come down and watch it.
When the conclave meets, oh, I love that. Little white smoke out of the chimney when we pick the next trustee to replace trustee O'Brien. Be great.
Fortunately, I don't have to have the end result of the.
That's fair.
Technology is supposed to make your life easier, but everyone makes it harder.
Never when you need it.
Never when you.
Let's try that again.
I haven't seen any meeting minutes come through for Jim. Did he send them? Okay, got it. I'll make sure. And I'm on that.
Yes. It went to trustees.
Got it. I had like 300 emails.
I felt bad every time I was like, well, she'll catch up on them later.
I think I got them all, but I must have missed one. You guys will call me later.
You have a copy. 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 Everybody gets a copy.
Excellent. Thank you.
So are we ready to move on?
Do not know what that number is going to be.
Okay.
Your number?
It'll be okay for right now. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Everybody have a good evening. It's very nice to meet you.
The only form of quickest executive sessions I've ever had.
No, I just emailed a copy of that resolution.
Thank you.
So that takes us to cemetery.
The requisition for administration, $1,500 to remove a dangerous tree out there. And we don't, it's a little bit different. We have a normal blanket purchase order for tree service. That's really only for roads. I would suggest that we change the wording to be for trees on the township property, which are cemeteries and roads and right of ways and all that sort of stuff. So that, make a motion that we approve requisition number C 04-04 to add tree service in the amount of $1,500. So moved.
Second. Moved by the chair, seconded by trustee Real. Discussion. Please call roll.
Mr. Chair.
Oh, I apologize. Moved by trustee Bullard, seconded by
That's okay.
trustee Real. Further discussion.
And just to note, I think it's requisition C 04-04. Is that right? Okay.
Thank you.
Further discussion, please call roll.
Brian.
Yes.
Rail.
Yes.
Fuller.
Yes,
Okay, that takes us, I guess, to the auditorium.
we'll just, two more, yes, just to the proposition we have from Jackie. You want to talk about those?
Sure, I'm glad to. So I think the aquarium area is looking pretty nice in terms of taking out those big arborvitae that were dead for the most part, and those are gone. The guys did a great job getting that cleaned up, and they've got reseeded grass in those areas. The area still needs some work on plants around it, but the proposal before you is to have it painted. Right now, it says little stones that you couldn't walk on when you were a kid because they were too sharp. Right, and it gets muddy in there, it's wet, there's not enough of that gravel, and it gets a lot of thistles and plants that are not the kind of plants that we want to have in there in the gravel. So the proposal is to match the working that we already have. And we have before you 3 different quotes from that fellow. One is to do the entire path, starting at the edge of the bridge. It'll be a 5-foot wide pathway and go up to the school arch. And then the whole big figure 8 like drawing that he had in front of you. That's the very first one. Then as we talked more, we realized that that bridge either needed some repair, some paint. So what we thought we would propose to do is put a little tile under it, bring it up to level, and go ahead and pave from the pavement all the way through. So, and then the other place is then, okay, what are we gonna do with the flagpole? And so it includes matching, not the shape, but the size opposite where the aquarium actually is, matching that shape around the flagpole in about 6 by 8. So I see those kind of as 3 separate things. That's why you have it in front of you that way.
I'm a little confused on the last item. So
Okay.
what is that shape?
Permission to come up and show you.
Sure.
Sorry about the clothes, it is muddy out there. So to show you the picture here, this little guy.
Okay,
This is what's there now.
yeah, but what is this?
This is a flagpole, and right now it's a bed that stands about 3 foot high and has a bunch of weeds in it.
Okay,
And we're saying bring that back down to level, make it match this and have it match the brick. Because the problem that we're having right now
so is
is
it
weeds.
pavers also, or?
Yeah, it's
So,
all-
okay.
It's all paver. Yours didn't come out green like it was on mine, so sorry about that.
That's okay.
Like
I just
another
didn't
shade
know
of
that.
wood, right? But so here is for the path, here is for the bridge, and here is for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, so as we go forward, obviously, we're gonna wanna do a little work around that flagpole. We wanna continue to honor our schools with that school area, continue to honor veterans with the area around the flagpole. But it's gotta be cleaned up first before we can even envision what we want to do.
So if we do a veterans memorial type item, that's something the county will do a grant for. But timing is everything on that grant. So they call it a community improvement grant. I would recommend calling the county and finding out what time frame they would want to propose. I believe they financed a lot of what Orange Township did. I don't really want that much. We don't have space for that much. But if there's something that we want to do, I believe the county would at least match it.
What we currently have are some almost limestone blocks that are in there, and they're just kind of, they tip over into the mulch because they're not on anything firm. I would think if we put those on some sort of pillar so that they stood up nice and tall on the flag string. But right now is what we end up with hodgepodge of stuff laying. And that's not attractive, that's not how we want to be at the thing.
And it's the type of thing the commissioners would like to fund, because they set aside a certain amount of money, and they just divide it up by whoever asks. And so
And so that's the flagpole area only that you're talking about?
I'm talking about veteran memorial type.
Right, and that's the
It's something
flagpole.
that,
Yeah.
yes. They're not gonna fund just anything,
I'm just being clear.
but that type of thing they like to fund.
Yeah, well, then I would amend my proposal to say, let's think about doing that bridge and the pathway and paver that matches, and then we'll put it in grade.
Well, we can go ahead and authorize this, and then you can do the timing or whatever, and then
the county doesn't need to know that we already approved it.
We also it could be a step 2 where we do the pavers and then there's some additional where they help us with getting each of the pillars set, or we can talk to them about that.
And it might make it possible that you can do more than what we've envisioned currently.
So, I am aware of money already given by Hyatt's, and I think a beautification project like this is something that would please them. I'm glad to talk to his nieces, to have that conversation with them. They may be being to give a little additional funding as well. But I want them to know, and I hope this is okay, I want them to know that the money that's already been given is being put towards that project. Is that acceptable?
I think that that's a good thing, because when we originally accepted it, we didn't want it to just be absorbed into general fund and just
Which is.
not something we can point to. And so I think that, because it makes me more inclined to actually do this.
And I want to be transparent with them, so they're not giving us more money without realizing that money's already been given and being used for pieces of that. In addition to this, I think it would be appropriate to get a stone that gets inlaid into the path that acknowledges the Hyatt family for giving me money to do the path.
I'm okay with that.
We were on the phone today, we're not meeting tomorrow. We were on the phone today, they've had another death in the family. And they may be interested in benches for that area as well. Which would look nice around the astoria. They were supposed to be in the original mock-up. They
Yeah,
never
so
did.
I want to see it because I want it to all be cohesive and well thought out.
Sure, my vision would be it would match the granite that the actual astoria is. And they would be something like we would have out in the cemetery, that's a nice cutting bench like that, and also engraved with whoever chooses to donate to that.
Pensions can get complicated though from a safety perspective for me. Especially as we have more and more people around the cemetery. It basically invites in a lot of ways, teenage loitering and those kinds of things. So I would want to see a good plan for that before. Could you tell me a little bit about Rock Solid Landscaping and Construction?
Sure.
Yeah. Who are they?
Yeah, the fella that owns it works at Old Tangy School, and this is his business that he does on the side, and he did our patio, it was beautiful work, and it was very reasonable compared to other quotes. He was about 60% of the other quotes that we got for our own patio. So when we were talking about doing this, I'm like, oh, get Tosh out, see what they would charge.
Yeah. Do you know if this is competitive with any other landscaping companies?
Go through the hoops and stuff, and like,
I think I'd like to see a couple just for, we have to do due diligence in terms of what we report to residents and how we're using the funding. But I love the idea of utilizing the donated money for something more permanent too. Not just the landscaping and the weeding that will go and come back and go and come back, but also something that's a little bit more enduring. So generally, I'm favorable towards it, but I want to have the assurance that we did our due diligence and the estimation and got the best price and the best product too. Because it's not necessarily about going with the cheapest product. It's also about what's the balance of the quality that you get out of it.
use
So
a product to match what we already have.
yeah, that's great.
What he quoted us.
That's great. That's my opinion, but if you gentlemen want to move forward this evening with this proposal, feel free to bring forward the motion, but I would want to wait and see, get a couple more quotes and have these incorporated in our packets for the meeting minutes to showcase that we did our fiscal responsibility on this project for both the donation aspect as well as to the residents.
So I don't really have a problem with that because it's not really making much more work because you have what it is going and you can just hand it to them and say, give me a quote on this. You don't have to reinvent the wheel.
I agree. I'm glad to do it, no worries.
And let me make a couple comments. One, we're trying to improve that part of the cemetery, make it more attractive. And the gravel walkway, when we put it in, we thought was sufficient, but as you get to using a stroller or wheelchair or some other.
Yeah.
Some rollers, the gravel don't work.
That's a great additional component.
Making this This should make it much more attractive and much more appealing.
Well, I did wonder about, like, making it more accessible with the use of pavers versus maybe other aspects to make it more accessible over there. And as I understand, Osweiler doesn't get a lot of, sales right now, right? Yeah.
So, who wants their edges spread out there? That's definitely a future meeting, but there's no different about that. Ashes and the spreading of ashes on our grounds.
On the hard grounds, okay. Yeah, I mean, I think we have a reputation actually for having some of the best cemeteries around. And I think, you know, what we've done, we've invested a lot in Evergreen, and I think it's time to invest in Cheshire for sure.
So it make it better and really replace the bridge with a culvert and that sort of.
But, and could you, make certain to ask about accessibility as well to ensure, because I saw the 4 foot, so that a 4 foot wide path would still allow the wheelchair access, but, the evenness of it too.
Yeah. And our vision is to have it be level across there.
Good.
It's level after you get off the bridge, fairly level now.
Pretty level, because you want it not perfectly level, because you want it to drain.
Well,
And pavers are kind of funny. When you put them in, they look great. You go through a freeze-thaw cycle through the winter and stuff moves a little bit, but every winter you go through it, it moves a little bit more. So that's just something we have to take care of in the future, but should make it a lot more usable, a lot more accessible, a lot more attractive to everybody to use. And are you familiar with what Trustee O'Brien was talking about from Orange Township, by the old township hall down there?
where at the orange? Yeah, that wall.
The flags.
down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole memorial. That wasn't what we were thinking of.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking of cleaning that area up so it doesn't look junky.
And I believe that's what would make it useful and make it attractive.
In our lawn mowing quote, didn't we include the weeding of that area as well? So that it gets done at least, a couple times a year. It's not every month that they're gonna be doing it, but they're gonna be doing it more, correct?
You need,
Myers?
Myers, yeah, in our RFP, didn't we include that?
you need weed or the weed feed or
Mhm.
we do it all.
Spraying, well, because it got a little bit unwieldy last summer,
It's
and
already unwieldy now.
a few people have commented on that, and I think we included it in our quote to have that area specifically targeted this year too. So that would hopefully help, but if they're not doing that, the point is, if they're not doing that as part of what we already are paying for, then we need to make certain that we follow up with them to take care of their portion too.
They're planning to come this week, is my
Good,
understanding. If it doesn't rain too much.
excellent, excellent.
And we asked a dangerous question, which is, we made it to one of our most dangerous days of the year, on Mother's Day. How was it received? Did you get complaints or anything or any issues with that? But I didn't receive any phone calls from anyone.
People were,
Or any
the
communications.
flags were already out, so.
Mother's Day is the safest day of the year. It's the lowest crime rate in all the United States,
It's the most,
but it's the most looked at in
Most looked at.
cemeteries.
We had a lot of people.
Okay,
Hey, yeah, I'm just gonna ask you, how do we wanna handle dogs out there? It's clearly posted, somebody was out yesterday with a dog and they did not keep people within an acre yellow distance.
Hmm.
And that's the kind of person that the rule was made for.
Mhm.
Do we just say something?
Do you have a recommendation?
I don't.
I'd like to begin doing fines at the cemetery eventually for people who drive on the grass, for people who violate the rules and the sanctity of those who are resting in peace there.
I'm fine with somebody having a dog on a leash, I wouldn't say.
Yeah, I think a dog on leash is perfectly fine.
And he was from here to road, away from this guy, and whistling, trying to come back.
Yeah.
I'm like, you are the kind of person we have to be.
It's unleashed dogs, totally. It's not no dogs, just to be clear.
Well, it says no dogs, it says no pets.
Yeah, I'm okay though with dogs visiting, but they have to be on the leash.
I didn't mean it was the most dangerous, I meant it was the most.
So there you go. Critical.
Probably a much better word to use.
I'll get a list of sanitary things that I wanna address down the road together for you guys to keep thinking about, and then we'll get it on the agenda when it's
Well, and maybe what we can do with that as well is when you get that list, also get a list from Tim Ford. And I would like to have more consistency where we can, obviously on the sales and different stuff like that, we can, but consistency where we can on some of the rules, parameters, and what we do in both cemeteries.
I'm not 100% comfortable with any dog.
Well, I think
Well,
we can deal with that later,
if
but
we post no dogs, I think we should follow through with what we say.
I agree. But I'm pro dog in a cemetery with a leash on, and I think that that's what.
Well, if that's what it should say, I mean, if that's what we are going to enforce, that's what we should say.
Agreed.
So my question more than anything was who's gonna address that? You know, should I go up to that gentleman and say, sir, do you realize we don't allow dogs and at least have an obligation alternate that, I mean, you know, how do you, okay, that's what it is.
I'd like to have enforced the rules as they exist today, but I do want perhaps your recommendation on what you think the rules should be there, and then have our board consider it, make the rules, set the rules, list the rules, enforce the rules.
So the
Lay
question-
down in uniform to say, hey.
The chief, I need
I don't have any
opportunity to
enforcement
research
power.
this.
You need to
So
bring
what-
somebody with a
so
uniform
you-
and a gun.
Yeah.
You guys can research and come up with the parameters, but for right now, to your point, for right now, I think say no dogs allowed if you want to say no dogs allowed.
And you can say it's township policy, so that it's not you deciding it, it's us deciding.
Yeah.
And then if they have a problem, they should come to us.
Thank you.
So anything else for cemetery?
I wouldn't necessarily have them come to a meeting first to address it.
See one of you?
They can leave public comment, but the thing about the meeting is, it's not an invitation for public dialogue. So they can provide comment, but we're not necessarily going to reply to them in public meeting. But if they wrote to the township, then they probably can have a conversation with you or with the township administrator and get more of the dialogue that they were looking for, or with one of us, and we can have one of us address it outside of public meeting a little bit more thoroughly. But they're welcome to provide public comment, but we just aren't necessarily gonna have dialogue here, you know? Is that fair?
But I do think if they have a problem with us, they should
Come to us.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
There is one other thing, and that has to do with Evergreen Cemetery. In the past, we've not accepted any grave spaces back from either of the cemeteries. We have a family that has a couple cemetery plots that they would like to give back to the township. And so we're looking at how to do that, and if that would make sense to do. And what it does is it takes the problem of
Multiple sales.
reentry and that sort of stuff
Yeah,
out, and for their descendants to have to worry with this 30 or 40 years from now on something nobody would ever even know, grandma and grandpa. So what they want to do is just clear it all up and get it taken care of. We're going to get the paperwork in place, and then once we've done that, we as trustees need to, if they've signed everything, we need to accept and give back those lots.
So it sounds to me almost like what they're doing is a donation.
donation, yeah.
And a donation's easy
It
to.
would be a donation, but it would be a donation that we got to put the lots and all the spaces.
Well, but, yeah, and I think that's an interesting conundrum that Evergreen always seems to give in unique situations. But I still wouldn't be comfortable doing any sales for that because we don't know how many times
right.
that same plot has
Not
been sold.
sales.
So it does take, okay,
All it is a gift of the lots back to, or not back, but to the township, because the township never had that
Right.
before we
Yeah.
sold it.
yeah.
We do have a form that's a relinquishment of your rights.
Oh,
Great, and it's probably appropriate for what you're talking about.
that does sound like,
It gets notarized with the signature.
that sounds like the right.
And as time goes on with the state law change, which says that you have a right of reentry after 50 years or some other schedule, if we want to, with 50 years is guaranteed by the state. Will probably be coming up more and more, but not in the next 4 or 5 years, we're doing 40 or 50 years. And it gives, what it does is it keeps the cemetery from being full back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds great, and good work on this. I think the plan looks good to make it more attractive and more accessible, which is important too.
Thank you.
Oh my God, sunset.
Okay. So that takes us to the fire department. Now, I see, well, a vehicle policy, which I did want to address, but I don't see it as a fire department issue. What I wanted was townwide. But I know that you're.
The only one in question is under fire right now, so.
Yeah, but what I'm asking for is a policy that is townwide.
And I did include the policy that we currently have. And so I also included the spreadsheet originally. I reached out to a number of my colleagues to determine if they had policies that they could share. And I only received one back, which was from another county, so I did not include it. Ultimately, our current policy allows for take-home vehicles, and currently current policy does allow for take-home vehicles.
Yeah, the air conditioner turned on, and I can't hear you either.
And so my recommendation is that we currently only have one employee under this policy. My recommendation, which is the fire chief, my recommendation is that we keep the current policy as is, given that in the fire service, it is an industry standard. It's a matter of response time, being able to respond to calls for service, as the fire chief is always on call. It is something that every other jurisdiction that I have found, every other fire department is providing a take-home vehicle for their chief, which is evidenced on the spreadsheet. And I included our specific policy as if there are modifications you would like to see to allow that practice to occur, then please let me know.
Well, the modification I want is that the township wide, all the same. So I'll probably have to draft that up and then.
I had the opportunity to very briefly review this driving vehicle operation policy. I am okay with the chief's position being able to take home and back the vehicle, but I'm not okay with any other position currently being able to do that, including the administrator. And the only reason for that is because of the emergency situation and potential safety issues that are involved with the chief versus the administrator. However, I could potentially be convinced about the administrator as well in certain situations. And so to your point, I think as far as making a township policy, we should specify, if you're gonna draft something up, which positions we are talking about. Because
Well, the way I'm wanting it drafted is township wide, so the same, so there's not going to be an exclusion.
But I'm not sure that I understand a universal policy when there's different positions, and those different positions come with different functional responsibilities.
I understand that,
One,
but
for the chief is safety. It's safety as a first response. The others are not.
But the policy should be in there that nobody responds directly to the fire.
Yeah, I'm not sure that we're gonna get to agreement on the fire chief, but I do think that there's language to be had about this. But if it's about safety, and you're saying nobody should respond to the fire, even if the chief is the closest, and the chief should be the one that's responding to the fire, should go and take the car to the station to get the vehicle to drive it to the event,
That's what I'm saying.
that could make a serious difference from a safety perspective to me.
What does EMS do? When they're captains, they respond to scenes. What did they do?
That's a good question.
Delaware County? I'm not familiar with what their practice is. I know that I have not come across any fire or EMS, largely because a lot of departments are combined. I have not found anybody yet who either chief, assistant chief, and generally battalions are all driving from home.
So if you could find out what the county does, that'd be interesting.
There's that aspect, and I think that one point you brought up that I was curious about from our last conversation was whether or not it would cost more.
Well, I wondered about the tax implications.
Yeah, the tax implications, and I think that's a good question.
I did look into that, and I am working on confirming it with the state, but the other townships that I verified with, public safety does not, a marked public safety vehicle does not have those.
IRS rules, right?
Yes,
Okay.
does not qualify for those tax implications because it is marked and it's public safety.
So that to me is another distinction as to the chief versus anybody, right? A marked public safety.
Yes,
vehicle,
the
is that what you
IRS
said?
does distinguish between that.
That's important, if you could send me the documentation.
Sure.
Vehicle does.
Because that's where the town got hung up. Well, it wasn't with vehicles, it was.
I was looking at the IRS manual earlier today.
But,
So,
but
anyway.
my-
Yeah, to your point, drafting a policy, what I would like to see, and if we were to change the policy, would be to distinguish between safety vehicles, first responders, and everybody else, because I am okay with the chief and the current situation. But when I read the policy, I do think that there's some, I don't know, leniency that I'm not sure that I would be as comfortable with for other non-safety positions. Does that make sense?
I understand your.
Yeah, it makes, I'm not asking if you agree. So that would be, if we were gonna change the wording, I would wanna see something to that effect in the draft. But what did you envision in the draft? If you were to change this?
Well, that there aren't exceptions, that you don't take them home. Now, I did say that, one thing that I thought made sense, if there was pre-approval, if there was a reason, like if you were starting from,
Yeah,
I used the Lincoln County, I'm going to St. Clairsville, it doesn't make sense to come here to go to St. Clairsville. And, but that's, that's coming up in advance, so you just get pre-approval.
and I'm fine with that, and maybe we make the policy as it is right now, but with the pre-approval necessary for other positions. I would be okay with that too.
Because the idea is not to be punitive, but it's to not make it a personal vehicle.
Right, absolutely. Well, and to use it when necessary and not as an add-on to,
Because my
as a
point,
perk. It's not a perk for your job. It's part of your job.
I understand what you're saying.
See what I'm saying? Yeah. Well, you'll work some great wording, I'm sure.
I'm not going to ask the prosecutor to draft it. And we'll just see. I just want it to be documented. If I lose the vote, I lose the vote, but I want it to be documented.
You were gonna ask me probably what my thoughts were. My thought is that, when the chief takes the vehicle home, the reason he takes it home is so that he can return, in case of an emergency or fire or something of that nature. And I'd like for him to have the vehicle and the lights and sirens and things of that nature, which is just built into that vehicle, to allow him to get here as quick as possible, because that's why he's coming, to get here as quick as possible, to have all those tools at his disposal to use, and not just be some person driving down the road fast in a car that nobody has any idea why they're doing that. And I would like to have him have that ability to get here just as quickly as possible. Second thing I'd like to have is just what Aubrey's recommendation is, because she's going to check around and figure out what everybody else is doing. And we would do something that would be, I think, something similar to what other people are doing.
Yeah.
That's the,
Yeah, I mean, industry standard does make sense, but then there's also like, there's a lot of times that people do what everybody else does, and it may not be legal, or it may not be the best thing. But in this case, to me, the safety aspect of it playing into it and the fact it doesn't cost the township more money, not that we would make the decision safety versus money, if we could save a few bucks versus that, but confronting it, I think is important.
But you understood my other concern is that it makes him have to go home if he's not home to pick up the vehicle because he's not allowed to use it for personal use. He has to go home. So if he's in Delaware County, he has to go home to get the vehicle to come back here, which doesn't make sense to me.
Well, didn't we, that situation come up and what were we saying about that?
We do have other vehicles here. So if there was something where he's 5 minutes away, we're not gonna, and with all due respect, Chief is.
Yeah, sorry, we're just.
So, he's gonna come to the station and grab a spare vehicle or he's not gonna drive an hour if he's an hour away from his house to go get the vehicle and then come here. He's going to respond as quickly as possible, but 99% of the time is going to be responding in his vehicle. Accurate statement?
Accurate
I'm
statement.
sorry.
If I happened to be at the outlet mall and the call came in and I was with my family, I would have them drop me off at the station, handle the situation, and they could come back and pick me up. I'm not gonna drive clear back to my house and then clear back here. That would be one situation where.
Well, because the idea here is for safety purposes to respond as quick as possible. Is there a situation in which you would potentially be stranded at the station as a result?
No.
Because we have enough vehicles to be able to.
I mean, my wife, if there was a fire, we'll say, if there was a house fire and we were at the outlet mall and I came here and they dropped me off and then they just come back and get me. I mean, that's just part of the glamorous life of being a fire chief that's happened before. I've been doing this for 10 years. I've encountered just about every situation imaginable. So.
Yeah.
But most of the time I'm at home, available, and able to respond to calls.
So if it's industry standard and it doesn't
But when you say
cost more
industry-
and it's legal and the safety and first response, I mean, that's a pretty convincing
So
argument.
when you say industry standard, define what that means.
It means that there's not a fire department that I've been able to locate in the state that is not currently operating under this practice.
But there's lots that don't even have vehicle. We didn't have one until like 3 years ago.
The ones that are comparable to our size, and the township has grown greatly, is
Well, and respectfully, that wouldn't even count towards like any consideration if there was a vehicle to even consider. It would have to be that you had a vehicle to consider with having a policy.
Well, but it sounds like every township has this policy.
It sounded to me like every township that has the ability to allow the chief to take it home has adopted this policy.
Yeah, I don't want to get into this main fight.
Okay. I just think the argument's pretty convincing from the different
And
perspectives.
so I'll probably lose the vote, but I'll have a vote.
Okay. And it's fair. But I think that what you brought up are great cases for us to have to be able to address. And so whenever this policy or this wording gets changed, as long as it includes that the chief has the ability to take home the vehicle. And I love the idea of giving pre-approval for other positions. I think that, moderate changes to this policy would be welcome.
I'd like to see it both the way we do, because then you would understand what we're understanding. But if you don't understand what we're understanding, you vote some other way, that's fine, but that's not gonna cause me to vote different.
And it should.
I would vote different if I was convinced different. So, but I
Right, and I
for
get
industry
that.
standard, the safety, the.
I don't like the term industry.
Okay,
standard. It's
okay,
like-
so that's what it is. So we can modify it to, it's legal. How about that? It's legal.
Well, I've never debated legal. Now, I did have a tax consequence question, and that's different than legal.
Okay.
Because you can pay.
Yeah, fair. But sometimes when we said initially industry standard, you said just because everyone is doing something doesn't make it right, which I think is a fair point. But in this case, it doesn't seem that there's any legal implications related to it, so.
Not legal, but financial is what I would want to do.
Well, and then financial is my second point. Right, so there's no legal implications that we know of, there's no financial implications that we know of. We're still gonna research it. There are safety implications that we know of for not doing it.
Do we have studies that show that lights and sirens make it safer?
I did not pull that data.
I would
What I
argue lights
thought-
and sirens has more accidents than not.
I pulled what I felt was reasonable. I checked with our insurance carrier. I checked with the prosecutor's office.
I'm not asking you to actually research that, I'm just saying, is there, to your knowledge, is there knowledge that lights and sirens makes it safer?
Well, it draws awareness, and
It
therefore,
gives you authority, so you can ask, once you have your lights and siren on, you have the right to ask for the right of way.
yes.
It doesn't mean you have a right of way, but it
It's-
gives you the
and
right
it's-
to ask for it.
Which you don't have in a regular vehicle.
That is true, but you said it was safer, and I'm not convinced it's safer, because if you have the authority to ask for right of way, you can get in that right of way and get hit.
Well, okay, but I was thinking of safety a little bit more comprehensively too. I was also thinking about the faster that the chief can respond to the scene.
Yeah.
That may have safety implications at the actual scene.
There's
Yeah,
also,
I'll give you that.
there's equipment, there's radios. The car is outfitted with more than just lights and sirens that allows that response to start sooner.
That's a good point. It's not
I
just.
hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Which takes me to, because I dealt with enough sheriff cruisers to know that they aren't safe, because they you talk about distracted driver. They've got a radio going, they've got a computer there, they've got their lights and siren on, they're going faster than the speed limit.
But sometimes
And-
they're the
and-
ones that make the best decision for what to do on the scene while they're on their way.
I have seen the claims of those sheriff cruisers, and they're always in the repair shop.
You're giving the chief an idea of more things he needs to
We're already there.
Okay,
So we'll continue this. If we could have this not next meeting, the following.
well, but I promised that I would vote by next meeting to you. So
Yes.
if you're amending our voting, that's fine, but
And
I need to know I'm ready to vote when you call for it.
Okay, so, I mean, I'm willing to press myself, but I think realistically we get a better.
Sure.
So, I also need you time to,
I've got one more question. Do you need anything more from us to be able to put all of it together?
As long as I know what is being amended to the policy so that I can draft that, then, or if you all want to draft it and get it to me for the packet.
so it sounds like there's two things. One, I'm gonna lose, but there's one that, you know, I can lose one vote, but that doesn't mean you throw the other. So if there's some things that are there things in here that you think could be improved?
I have not read the policy in its entirety for other purposes other than the take-home piece. If you'd like me to review the policy as a whole and see if we could clean it up in other ways and bring them all forward at once,
So
I
that,
would be happy to do that.
I really like the idea, you mentioned it before, but it had escaped my mind, this pre-approval for other positions.
And what I would request is that and recommend putting in here is giving the administrator the authority, because if we have a position that, let's say, where they're going to a conference or a training,
I think we'd be.
to be able to,
because-
for me to say, yes, you can
Yes,
take the
I-
vehicle home versus waiting for a
And
trustee.
you just document it, and then they know what's happening, and you know what's happening, and I think that's preferred, because otherwise it's unwieldy.
Yeah, I agree. I would just say, if we're writing the policy, typically we would say something like the administrator or the board of trustees in the absence of
Okay.
in the vacancy of an administrator position or something like that.
But otherwise, I mean, if they find out the day before, we're not gonna have a special meeting for that.
No. But I would like to know, I don't know, maybe this is too much, but it would be nice to know who used the vehicles at your convenience.
Is
you
there a
know,
way
like-
to do a log?
Yeah, like a log.
That way you don't have to email us, if we wanna look at it, we can just look at it,
Yeah.
so we can see what's going on in history, you know.
Are you talking just for the training component of it, or are you talking like every
Yeah, I think that.
No, if there was a pre-approval
Oh, the
for the
pre-approval.
other, not your
Sure.
position, a pre-approval
To
for
take it
the,
home.
to take home, yeah.
Yeah, we can.
And that way you can see if somebody's starting to set a pattern.
Sure.
That's what I was thinking. But I still think that the chief's position is unique and is extra to that.
Yes.
Okay.
I will work on something and have it redlined.
And it's not that there's no other part of the handbook that needs addressed.
I have a list I haven't even shown her yet.
And she doesn't know that.
She has her own list.
Okay. We're flying. Are we ready for the part-time candidate?
Yes. This is the one part-time candidate that did not get brought forward last time. We brought 7 forward at the last meeting. This one, we did not have the references back in time to include him in the packet, and so we are recommending tonight approval of our last remaining candidate.
So I move resolution authorizing the hiring of a part-time firefighter for the Berlin Township Fire Department as provided to us for Robert Kovacs. And I would like the entire resolution as provided incorporated.
Second.
Recommended to us.
Yes.
As opposed to provided to us. Recommended.
Yes.
By the chief and that.
Yes, well, what he has provided has his recommendation written in there, but I will take that as a friendly amendment. I do. Okay.
Other than that,
So the friendly amendment was accepted by the mover and the seconder. So moved by the chair, seconded by trustee Rail. Further discussion?
Does it have the hire date?
It's dependent upon the background and the physical condition.
Further discussion? Please call the roll.
Fuller,
yes,
Rail,
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes. Anything else for fire? No, sir. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, chief.
Okay, so that is, to administrator, no, I'm sorry, zone.
You have the zoning inspector's report. The spreadsheet in the back is a work in progress based on iWork. We have been playing a little bit with recreating the spreadsheet that the previous zoning secretary created, but she was doing manual entry with. So we're working on being able to generate those reports within iWork. So if there's anything in there that you want to see, if it is not, we can work to get that next month.
I want, like the summary at the end, I just don't like. It's too much. Like each cell has its own unique. So if I went to go like sort, right? If I could say I want to sort this out, it would make it so that this ends up being sorted and discombobulated. So I would want the summary of basically what this is. I want it to look like the secretary's, previous secretary's items, but if we wanted to have basically the row be, so row 1, row 2, row 3 be the new single family homes, accessory structures, temporary signs, those are all just the rows and then the totals. And the way that you can get to that is you can have all this information post up from iWork and Excel, and then you can create the tab 2, and then you can have the tab 2 be a pivot table that summarizes basically permit type and then total. And then the tab 2 is what I would want to see, just the totals.
So you're just looking for a roll up.
A roll up basically, but if you do the pivot table with this raw data, you can do the month and then you go to the totals.
When you say totals, you mean yearly totals?
year-to-date totals, but you can also do the pivot table where you have the permit type, then the month and how many, and then the total at the end.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that. If that's not a lot of extra work, I like that too. But I don't know how much work it is.
It's,
Well, to.
for me, it would be a 5-minute task to get the raw data to the pivot table.
From iWorks.
If you have the raw data in Excel format, like
So
this,
is this Excel?
this looks like Excel to me, and it looks like it produced.
I don't know if this is Excel, but I would double check.
I think it has to be because I think they manually added these ones.
All right, I will look into
Okay.
that, but work in progress, we're.
Why don't you and I talk about it when we get together to talk zoning a little bit? We can talk more.
Okay, so, we do have a 7 o'clock time certain. If there's no objection, I'd like to go into executive session G8, before our hearing. Do you happen to have G8 word? Because it's the second part.
Yeah, I can pull it up.
I know most of the first part. I got it. Move to recess in the executive session from regular session pursuant to ORC 121.22 G8 to consider confidential information related to marketing plans, specific business strategy, production techniques, trade secrets, or personal financial statements of an applicant for economic development assistance or to negotiations with other political subdivisions respecting requests for economic development assistance, provided that both of the following conditions apply, and the conditions A and B listed there are too.
Second, and it would be,
Thank you with all participants of the board of trustees, the fiscal officer, Mr. McCarter from Allbers and Allbers, and the township administrator present.
second? Yes, I just already seconded. So moved by trustee Grail, seconded by the chair.
I can second that.
So, this does take a unanimous vote to go into executive session for this purpose. Further discussion, please call the roll.
O'Brien,
Yes,
Rail,
Yes.
Bullard,
Yes.
so we are in executive session.
No? Yeah, that's fine. And then other need, go down? Down? No, none of that. And then next to where you just unmuted?
No, down.
Down? Down. There, you got it. There
And we're back.
I'd like to make a motion that we return to the regular session from executive session. So moved.
we go. Second?
Moved by trustee Bullard and seconded by trustee Rail. Discussion, please call roll.
Bullard,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes,
Rail,
Yes.
we are back into regular session. We did meet in an executive session, no actions were taken and no decisions were made. If there's no objection, well, we have a time certain for 7 o'clock and that's just slightly past, so I call to order the hearing for the Berlin Concord Shawnee Hills JED tour.
Okay.
Mr. McCart.
Good evening. We're here tonight for the statutory hearing on what has been known as the Berlin Concord Shawnee Hills JED 1. This is a JED that is for 2 parcels of property, 418-330-001-002-000, and the adjoining ends in 3,000. This is a approximately 10-acre property. The JED contract was presented previously to the township and has been on file with the fiscal officer for over 30 days. And you have received proof of publication that this hearing was noticed in the Gazette for 30 days prior to the hearing, again, meeting with the statutory requirements. Tonight is a hearing to hear public comment with regard to the JED. The JED contract has been before you, before your JED partners in this would be Shawnee Hills and Concord Township. And this is for the implementation of a 2% income tax in the JED area. That's Shawnee's income tax.
We need to accept the reports.
Yes, I move that we accept and mark it Exhibit 1, the affidavit showing the proof of publication of the notice of the Berlin Concord Shawnee Hills Joint Economic Development District 1 hearing.
Second?
Moved by the chair, seconded by trustee Rail. Discussion, please call the roll.
Rail,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Bullard,
Yes.
So go ahead, fiscal officer, that exhibit. At this time, I open the hearing up to the public, for those in favor, those in disagreement, or any other public comment regarding the Berlin Concord Shawnee Hills JED District 1. Hearing none, I will close the public participation portion and open it up for the board if there's discussion.
Just very briefly, working with Concord and Shawnee Hills, I think this provides a very favorable situation for all parties involved. And will help promote economic development on these parcels within our township.
Thank you. Okay, so with that, do we have a motion? Well, wait, is it a motion to close the hearing?
Yes.
We don't need to vote to approve it first.
No, you accept the public comment. You could amend it following public comment at a later, or we could have done this weeks from now. But
Okay.
you're just closing the hearing and then go on with your business.
Okay, move to close the hearing for the Berlin Concord Shawnee Hills JED agreement.
Second.
Moved by trustee Rail, seconded by trustee Bullard. Discussion. Please call the roll.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Rail,
Yes.
Bullard,
Yes.
The hearing is closed. At this point, the chair will entertain a motion in regards to the Township Economic Development District.
Move to approve the Joint Economic Development District contract by and between the Village of Shawnee Hills, Delaware County, Ohio, and Berlin Township, Delaware County, Ohio, and Concord Township, Delaware County, Ohio, dated as of 5/12/2025. As JED 1.
Moved by trustee Rail, seconded by trustee Bullard. Discussion?
I would just note that you're approving the contract as presented tonight, and it also identifies the property involved based on the exhibits attached to the property, attached to the contract.
Thank you, and I did note 5/12, so as of tonight. So this will be the master here.
And we need to, do we have any blocks to solve?
There is fiscal officer approval, there's also
Page 30.
Yeah, page 30.
I know on page 2, there's some blocks, but I think those are.
So when we, assuming we approve this, is this approved in parts or is it one contract needs to be signed by everyone?
Previously.
it may be executed in counterparts. We would then assemble the signature pages. Section 6.8 specifically provides for counterparts. It's a contractual term, that's what I'm looking for.
After we vote on this, should it pass, should we designate one person to be authorized to sign this?
Yeah, this was set up as a single signature.
Yeah.
So if it's part of your motion, if you would, designate one of you as a signatory.
I'd like to keep the motion as is and approve it, and then do a second motion to authorize. Okay. You on page 30 as well?
Like he's going through the whole
Just
signature.
kind of going through it. There's several blanks in there that need to be filled in for the signature. And I just wanted to make sure that we weren't ahead of the game. You go to page 31.
Yep.
And then the voice for,
Concord.
Melissa to sign it,
It's on behalf of Concord Township.
form, and that sort of thing. And then on page 32 for Jeff to sign it, those sorts of things. Can we pass this without those signatures? Is the only question I got.
So what I think I heard, she spoke softly, but I think our township administrator mentioned Melissa's signature is for Concord because we're being represented by.
Okay.
Yes.
Concord numbers.
And, I'm sorry, go ahead. The JED contracts are done with the hearings and so forth, kind of in a phase. You can sign, if the others don't sign, you don't have a contract.
Right. So we sign, the one question is, do we have to have one original signature page? Like, even though we can sign at different times, you remember what I'm referencing? Do we have to have original signature page?
No, this one's specifically designated for counterparts, so we can put originals together.
Because, they all sign they'll sign their page, their part, and we'll sign, so you'll have like copies of the original, but not
Yeah.
one person signing one page
Yeah,
across
so-
all the entities.
Yeah, I'll scan it in, or Jeff can provide it to me, I'll send it to you, then they'll sign on the scanned copy and then,
Yeah,
Yeah, and they just hold them.
yeah.
So, what trustee Fuller pointed out is we need your signature.
Yeah, I can sign for that.
On page 30, yeah.
So which one are we going to sign on?
We are signing on page 30 and
Yeah, but no,
after.
I mean, who's, because we need him to sign. I guess you
Oh,
just.
use this
mine.
note.
It's an approved as a form.
Use mine. But this is the one that I brought forward for the motion.
So do you want to come?
Sure.
Approach, please.
Wait, don't I sign first though?
No.
It's just as the form. It's not, I'm not confirming you did anything, it's just as the form of the document.
But
Then-
what, right, because once we vote, then I think
Then-
you'll bring forward
Yep.
that, either one of us or the township administrator sign.
Yeah.
Okay, so, as I recall, it was moved by trustee Rail, seconded by trustee Ford. Further discussion? Please call the roll.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Bullard,
Yes,
Rail.
Yes. I'd like to move to, I will move to authorize trustee Rail to execute any documents associated with the authorization of the Joint Economic Development District contract
Previously.
as previously.
I second. Okay, moved by trustee Rail, seconded by trustee Ford. Discussion? Please call the roll.
Rail,
Yes.
Bullard,
yes,
O'Brien.
Yes.
So I'll sign this, and then it does ask for a resolution number. Could you give not this past one for authorization, but the prior resolution number?
The one to approve the joint contract?
Yeah.
25-5-14. I'm sorry.
This one, too.
Okay. When,
Let me make sure I caught what you said. This last one, 25-5-15, authorized rail or hail?
that's funny, Braille.
I thought, okay, that's what I wrote down, but then I thought you
I
said,
never thought of our name.
then I thought you said Aubrey just now, and I was like, wait a minute. It's 25-5-15 was authorized trustee rail to execute all.
Yep, we got it. All good.
but there's no place in here for us to sign.
That's right, we just authorized,
Well, I understand we authorize, but where do you sign?
Page 30.
30?
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry about that.
gotcha.
I signed, initial, or, signature and date and resolution. Can you confirm this is okay to you?
I appreciate it, you know, you get that aren't.
I believe that's what you're asking for.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
okay, so this contract then is, executed on behalf of the township so far.
Here you go,
What do
the
we
original.
need to do now?
Any place in there for you to sign?
Wait, you don't have to do anything further, we gotta get the other entities to finish their process,
I believe Concord had already passed
okay?
something, I thought.
Okay,
So the next step would be to follow up and make certain
Shawnee
Shawnee.
takes action, they reached out today,
Okay,
they're a little behind, but they're in process. John Hopfinger from my office is bird dogging that one, so
Okay.
I've got him following through. If you can, just send me the signature page on those so that I can show everybody.
that's good now.
And, the other thing was, you know, today, you guys thinking about you, time to process to get you guys reimbursed on those fees. So
will want to follow.
These two.
Please.
Any others?
No.
Coming at you right now.
Excellent, thank you. And I know this is a lot of work too, so I appreciate both you and Mr. McMillan's efforts on getting this important agreement through.
And John's been very helpful.
Great. Sometimes I'm getting pulled a lot of ways. So.
Yeah, he's been, when I've had questions, he was able to help get the exhibits sorted out.
Okay, great.
Excellent.
All right, 32, 31, 30. Sean.mccarter@alberslaw.com.
Yes.
You've got mail.
Thank you.
Are we all?
As far as I'm concerned,
Thank you.
thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Okay, now I cut off the zoning department, I didn't know if you had any additions.
No, not at this time.
Okay, that takes us to administrator,
Nothing at this time.
that takes us to fiscal officer. Who wants to do the, payment?
Hang on for a moment.
Okay, so I move that we approve, positive pay file report dated 5/11/2025, warrants 32824 through 32846 for an amount of $39,709.68. Moved by the chair, seconded by trustee Lord. Discussion.
Quick highlights, the second one, 825, is the bill we just did, the swim club, Albers and Albers, 621250. Another highlight is the iWork annual subscription, $10,000 and change. Kathy Ripple vacation payout. And then that last Kenco one is the money lifter.
So on the employee payout, is that because they're no longer an employee that they need a check or what is that?
Saved us $35 for not having a special check. She had, that would have, writing her a check would have been the special pay.
Okay,
So it saved $35 over HR helper.
excellent.
They'll give you the withhold information for free and then you write the check.
Excellent. Okay, so that takes us to health insurance appropriation.
Now we got another pay, we actually have this one too. That's just, that's 4 checks that are.
Oh, okay, so I move that we approve, deposit pay file report 32820 through 32.
Actually, I'm sorry, we never voted on the last one.
Okay.
Sorry.
So the motion is out of order, so to the original motion, please call the roll.
Bullard,
Yes.
Rail,
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes. That takes me then to the, I move positive pay file report approval for 5/7/2025, warrants 32820 through 32823 for $300.
Okay.
Moved by the chair, seconded by trustee Bullard. Discussion, please call the roll.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Rail,
Yes.
Bullard.
Yes.
Thank you.
So that takes us to the health insurance, appropriation.
Yeah, we didn't appropriate enough money to pay the health insurance, the original, to pay the health insurance for the roads, and Aubrey is also running us a little bit of money we hadn't budgeted either.
From the beginning of the year.
Right. So what I'm proposing here, I propose that I get my name correct on the UN, and then proposing that we're going to do a purchase order for $25,000 for health insurance benefits for roads and $8,000 for administrative.
I move that we approve appropriation of $25,000 for roads department and $8,000 for administrative purposes, all for health insurance benefits. Moved by the chair, seconded by trustee Bullard. Discussion. Please call roll.
Bullard.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Rail.
Yes.
That takes us to Auditor of State Memorandum of Agreement.
We have a new auditor. The auditor of state, for whatever reason, I don't know, decided to not renew the past auditor accounting firm, and the memorandum of agreement hires the new CPA firm so we can be audited this year.
Second, moved by trustee Bullard, seconded by the chair. Discussion. This is one of those items that we get to say yes to. Further discussion? Please call the roll.
Rail.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Bullard.
Yes.
So we need to designate somebody to execute the document. So,
Says legislative authority, I think is what it said. It's reading my
Or designee,
or
Or designate, okay.
So,
or should, yeah,
So,
well, you're moving to designate.
Move to authorize.
Administrator Hale to administer the Ohio's Auditor of State memorandum of agreement for the township.
And to execute.
And execute.
Second, moved by trustee Bullard, seconded by the chair. Discussion. Please call roll.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Bullard.
Yes.
Rail.
Yes.
Something to do with your local personal.
I will sign the return if this officer has come.
Here's the purchase order we just.
Anything else for fiscal officer items?
That's got it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. That takes us to trustee items for the Coalition of Large Urban Townships.
Oh,
Yes.
Are you all familiar with what it is?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. Should we join it?
What's your recommendation?
My recommendation is, we have, Administrator Hale take a look at it, make sure that we go by her recommendation.
Okay, so is
We're a
that,
little bit small on the population, but we're a little bit large on the budget. So it's something where we fit to. And a lot of the things that they take on are things that we all are trying to take on too. So I think we can join in and be a little more effective. Thank you, Frank. And they do have a presence with with the state legislation.
So is this an action item for tonight, or is that something you want to put on the agenda in the future? What Mr. Custer?
I think it is, unless Administrator Hale has something she'd like to say on this.
I don't know enough about it to speak to it. I certainly am familiar with the legislative agenda that they put out, and I know a number of my colleagues are on the board for Clout, but as far as the actual services that are offered, I need to look into that.
I'd like to understand the benefits for the cost. And that's it. Otherwise, I think there could be some benefit. But I think you pay a fee into it.
But I don't remember how much it is.
Yeah, I don't remember how much it is, and I don't remember what all that fee entitles us to. So maybe just some general information.
Thank you. So, next meeting or meeting after that?
If it's not on the next agenda, it'll be on the agenda after.
Okay.
So you'll know when you see it that I have the information prepared. Like to reach out to my colleagues and
Yeah, you can
TAs.
just send the information though whenever you have it.
And I would request that you put it back on the agenda when it's appropriate, you're ready to make a recommendation. Hopefully by like the June meeting, something like that.
Do we have a June meeting?
One.
We have one in June and then we skip July.
No, we have two in June. We have one, two.
And then we skip
July, 2 hours.
two in August.
I believe what we said was one in June and one in July. Let me look it up to make sure. I believe that's what we said.
I think you're right. But it's different this year.
And I think it works out that July is a blue moon month. In other words, there will be a fifth Monday in August. I think is the way it works out. Also note that the next meeting should be Tuesday, the 27th, not Monday, Memorial Day, the
Yeah.
26th. But let me see, make sure I've got that right. I believe that, yeah, I was wrong about that. It's September that's got an extra Monday. All right, where am I? Minutes.
You can look them up online now, so I'm checking them out right now.
Okay. So are we ready to move on to House Bill 315 resolution?
June and July meetings will be second Monday only, is what we said.
Okay, so House Bill 315, if you'll speak to that.
This is a resolution prepared by the prosecutor's office to reflect House Bill 315 and the updates that provide townships the ability to provide notice of a public hearing no longer in a newspaper of general circulation, but instead on the township's website and social media. My initial understanding was that it was an option, but that is not the case. If the township has social media, it is obligated to use it. After looking into that with the prosecutor's office, it's an and. But if you don't have it, you don't have to create it for that purpose, but if you do have it, you have to use it for that purpose.
I helped write this language though, and it was an or only.
That's what we wanted, but the law says and.
Should I transfer it?
And there was a little bit of confusion when it initially came out because we got both answers.
Because it wasn't the first.
We got both answers,
Yes.
but my understanding is and.
Because when you look at the
we
legislation.
did have this discussion because we were having this struggle with people letting go of the newspapers, and so we said if they had a social media site, they would do this. Because with that, like we were saying, that would apply to Brown to do it because they technically have a social media site. And other smaller townships have social media sites, but they don't use them. And then we got in a debate about what is a social media site because there's also Nextdoor and other things that are technically social media.
This has been prepared to reflect that, to allow us The board expressed the intent to move this route at the last meeting, per the prosecutor's recommendation, and then tonight, a formal resolution to allow us
Well, I had crossed out all the and social media because I thought that,
Well, and that was our preference, and we had indicated that was our preference, that it was for. But the prosecutor said it's an and. For those that have, and, you know, we have been using it.
yeah, I agree. It's just, it's,
Yes,
I think
and it
it's for
says,
the written law, but I don't care what I think.
well, I guess I'm informant, so I guess it's not, you know, it's a little bit of reflection of our discussions. Maybe we got a little bit off kilter and maybe they were just trying to push it through, but we missed out on the appeals as well. They were saying that maybe the Board of Appeals have the duty for the process still.
So is this only BZC that's covered by this?
That's what we don't know. Did they inform it was both BZC and?
so I know that BZC has not passed this resolution yet, and Tony had indicated that they would need to do so as well. That he would recommend that they pass a separate resolution, but would reflect this, but that the trustees do one as well, so that it could be integrated into the zoning text about
BZC
notices.
A or BZC?
BZC.
But if it's in the text, can BCA be included?
That is a question that I can ask him.
Yeah, that was, because we were also debating on if it applied to zoning appeals or if there was still.
I did confirm though in the ORC under 519.12A2, subsection A, subsection C, it says on the website and social media account of the township.
I mean, I think we have to abide by this, so.
Well, right, now, okay, so media is plural, and it's not medium. So do we have more than one?
No, because,
Okay, that answers my question.
okay.
I don't need a, just, okay. So do we need to fill out any blanks before we move this?
Yeah, we just need to fill in the blanks, I suppose. I had the website, filled in I crossed out the social media, so we would say Facebook there, right?
Yes.
And we would have to say what the Facebook account is, the name of that, I believe. Just. I think
Berlin Township.
yeah, I think it's, Facebook.com/Berlin Township, Poland. And then. I'm curious as to why BZC would have to pass it if we've passed it.
Recommended, I think, was to get it into the zoning text. And I
Okay.
talked to Levi a little bit about that, so we'll be working through that.
I mean, I don't have a
So
problem
what
with
I'm
that.
hearing, correct me, is that that's preferred, and that will make everything neat and tidy, but we're still under just having to publish it in the newspaper, even if BCC doesn't put it in the zoning text.
Well, my understanding from the prosecutor is that ORC trumps all at this point. And so that we would be operating, we are permitted to operate under the ORC the second that it became effective.
Okay.
So this is good practice, but we could operate under ORC now without the resolution.
Okay, which says just website and media.
Yes, we have to use one of the options. The preferred option is website and social media.
But getting it in the zoning text will help us if they get rid of the law. We will be operating under the zoning text, and if they change the law, that doesn't say you have to go back to the newspaper, but says you may, unless you pass a resolution, we'll already have that resolution there. You know what I'm saying?
So can I read this, because I just can't let it go exactly, but I hear what you're saying and I understand the prosecutor's argument, but it says, to me, it says, notice of the hearing shall be given by commission by one publication at least 10 days before the date of the hearing, using at least one of the following methods. A, print or digital edition of one or more newspapers or general circulation of the township. B, on the public notice website established under 125 of the Revised Code. C, on the website and social media account. So the B,
So that there's a website that's actually dedicated to public hearing notices that the state has established. That's
that's what I missed.
yes, so that's not stating our website, that's a dedicated, and I
Right,
forget
there's
what
that,
the name
and that
of it
was that was to address the townships that didn't have a website or social media, but then the newspaper was being reduced
Yes.
to once every 2 weeks or
Right.
whatever.
And that makes sense, but I think for our public's good, people aren't gonna go read all.
No, no,
And so it
no, no.
makes more sense to put it on our website where they actually
Yes.
know what's going on. So the other one would meet the requirements, might be easier, but it's not useful to the.
Right.
residents.
Right, exactly.
So do I have a motion?
Move to approve resolution 25-5, what number are we on?
21.
21-5-21. We had all the pay items of the JED. Pay items came after the JED. 25-5-21, a resolution establishing, the RC 519.112 notice of public hearing publication policy as provided to form by the prosecutor's office.
Second.
Moved by trustee Rail, second by trustee Buller, discussion? Please call roll.
Buller,
Yes.
Rail,
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, we all
Sign,
do sign.
we all do sign this, so. I have crossed out the social media, can I use your copy? Yeah. 25-5-21. Who seconded that? Bowler?
You seconded
Who
it.
seconded that motion?
I'm sorry, Buller.
Bowler.
Motion Rail, Buller, second. Vote was Buller, Rail, O'Brien.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that takes us, any other trustee items? Takes us to old business. Takes us to future meetings.
We've got a couple of meetings coming up after our meeting.
Okay, late items?
I got three. One was, Morpsey, Friends of Morpsey Union. First thing was that Morpsey is lobbying their Morpsey members to get the legislators to pass a law that would allow for eminent domain taking of land for trails. For multi-action trails.
For what now?
To take multi-use paths and trails.
Oh, trails.
Trails. So, and
That's so strange.
first thought is that's good, but second thought is that's not so good. We got the Berlin Business Park, they want to trail across the middle of the Berlin Business Park. It may not be so good if it's just one across the middle of the park. And you take the land wherever they want to take it. Should probably look at the route.
Who gets authority for eminent domain? Morpsey?
Morpsey is pushing the state legislature to allow for eminent domain taking of land for trails.
But who?
By whom?
By
By these, by
Would it
the,
be the township, would it be the city, would it be the state?
it wasn't clear on who it was going to be by, but it was to push to allow for eminent domain taking of. You know, like, as township doesn't get land for anything. And, for roads and that sort of thing, we can get the county to help take it, but we don't get to take it. Just a thought.
There's, okay,
I'm just letting you know that that's lobbying and trying to make that happen.
if I knew for whom, I could probably, I mean, generally, I'm not in favor of that anyway,
Mhm.
but
Yeah,
are you saying the state, the ODNR, or Morpsey, if they determine that, because
it isn't.
they've been involved with almost all of our trail projects here in the county for the last few years.
Yeah, but there's a difference between helping and having control.
That's exactly right, and so I'm saying if they're trying to make a move that goes from being a helping role to being like, you shall now do this, and it's giving them more control, that's egregious. But if it's,
I'm just letting you know that there's a
Yeah.
law in the state legislature, and Morpsey is lobbying to try to get the law passed that will allow for taking of land for eminent domain for trails.
I just don't know by whom, like by the
I
developer, by
don't know anything.
the federal government, by the state.
I have no idea of that stuff. I didn't dig into it. I'm just letting you know that law is in the process of being worked on. And it's something that could really mess up, large tracts of land or even large developments that are trying to be done. Say that like Berlin Business Park is a perfect example. You could put a trail across that real easy, or you could follow the roads and put it where the sidewalks would be and that sort of stuff. So-
Well, and what I'm wondering about really is if, let's say, a developer could petition to not have trails included in their plan, and the state would have the authority to require the township to put the trail in the road right of way. That's what I'm thinking. If that's the thing, because they've made arguments about whether or not it should be or shouldn't be in the road right of way in the past. And if they're trying to compel the local authority to bear the cost of the trail, and they get to dictate it, and then we have to pay the bill, that's completely unacceptable. But what you're describing, going across tracts of land, I mean, I'm not sure that makes sense that, because that would be between the developer and whoever.
If it's in the domain, they have no control.
So would this be an example of, like, let's say it's the state? The state could require the developer to put in the trail in there.
In the domain is, they take it and they.
And they maintain it. And whoever has it. Could
But
they
the
make
problem
us
is-
take it?
Well, see, that's the problem, is they could take it and then bequeath it to.
That's what I'm concerned about, is that,
I'm not saying that's what the law does, but
Yeah.
they have the state has that ability to do that, because that's what they do with our road.
right,
My reason for bringing it up is so that people watching this or anybody who wants to read the minutes knows that there's a state law being pursued to provide eminent domain for trails. That's the only reason for doing that. And sometimes that could be really good because if you got a short distance to get two trails to be able to connect, that's one thing. If you're trying to make a trail go 5 miles across somebody's large piece of property, that's a whole different thing. You can really change things dramatically.
But I would also contend that if that's my little short area, I want to control my land, I don't want somebody else to take it, but I understand. But you're right, it's different because we've got sections like this, trail and then nothing and then trail and then you like those.
In a short term, kind of do together, make a safer situation. And if there's a lot of ways it can be done, the law can be written in a whole bunch of different ways, but there's a law and the state legislature being pursued.
Well, as soon as you said Morpsey was pursuing it, it sends up my antenna because they usually are looking out for Morpsey and they're really looking out for cities as well.
That's correct.
They were helpful at getting expertise for
They
our
can
trails. They
be
were
helpful.
helpful, so I want to make certain that we give them credit for that. But as long as the lane is understood and the authority still rests with the property owners and local governments.
Yes, but my experience when I was at the county, I was a member of Morpsey, county commissioners are.
Mhm.
And I could see that they did not care about townships.
Mhm.
They were very much into urbanization.
Mhm.
And they wanted very dense, they wanted houses up against the road, all of that. But then they would say that, and then they would basically say, well, Delaware County should be the water tank of, I mean, they didn't use that word, the water tank for Columbus.
Mhm.
So they wanted no development up here, which is interesting because now they're pushing for affordable housing, so they want dense again. So they go from dense to sparse, I mean, who knows?
Well, that was the next comment, was Morpsey went to a seminar that Morpsey had on affordable housing. And what they were trying to do was show the ways that they were trying to tackle the housing shortage. And they were doing it by a whole bunch of different things. But some of the things that comes out is tweaking the zoning, providing zoning or providing plans for houses that laid out certain square footages and that sort of stuff. But the plans were approved, they'll give you the plan, you can build the house. And if you go to the building department, the building department doesn't have to spend a lot of time on figuring out what they're gonna do. You can just stamp it, keep going, and rubber stamp logo, different types of houses. We had 2 or 3 plants like that they were promoting. So those would be similar houses. The thing that they were trying to do was to attach that to the land bank and use the land bank land to take blighted property or property that was distressed for some reason, get rid of it, and then clean up the lots, and then allow someone to build on the lot with a 99-year lease. This would keep control of the land, but you could get the 99-year lease for the land and build a house on it. The house would be sold to you at a income defined rate. Okay, so if you had more income, you paid more for the house. If you had less income, you paid less for the house, sort of thing. You could sell the house will sell it, whatever the value of it was. And the people buying it may not buy it at that price, but you would get the price for the sale of the house. And you could continue on doing that. The 99-year lease, time that all the land remained in control of the government agency.
So that, again, sounds like municipal led, because most flooded areas are municipalities.
So it was the municipality. But I didn't say that you couldn't do the same thing.
Right, but it's a way of making it sound for everybody.
Weren't they on a pretty significant, campaign for the Amtrak and the train? Did they provide any update for that? Because I thought they were very involved with the transportation and the train.
Well, the track route, that was another thing that we talked about in the meeting, presentation on, was the Amtrak train. And it's the Chicago, Fort Wayne, Columbus, Pittsburgh, one way, and then Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, the other way, Dayton, Cincinnati, the other way. So that we were kind of the center of the, which one out there. And they were working to try to put all that.
Is that still going forward?
Right. And they were trying to put a plan to be able to do that sort of stuff. If it's done similar to what the three CSD railroad was done before, and if you follow what's going on in California, in fact, they got a train that can't get high-speed rail, they got just driving the state back up and that sort of thing. We had got approval for the three CSD from Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, railroad 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, Casey.
And that, in case you pulled the plug on it, because the thing required the state to finance it after it was built, until it became a high-speed rail. And none of the rail was high-speed rail. High-speed is defined 70 miles an hour. All of the rail, freight rail, which is defined as 65 miles an hour. So it requires a whole new railroad and a whole new series. That sort of thing. That was what they were trying to do.
Yeah,
Now,
because
what they're trying to do
makes,
with this other connector, I don't know.
it makes a $5 billion project really 35 billion.
Right.
Right, and puts the state on the hook for all.
Yeah.
And just where you see the Florida gave the money to California, we gave the money, and it went to Florida to California, ended up in California, so the money ended up. And California's now got huge mess on it.
Because they've got it, and they've got little sections, but it's not connected, and I've read about it, and it's a mess. And there's no way they're gonna ever get it on budget, and it's not really feasible what they're trying to do, and now they've got a mess. But anyway, I like high-speed idea,
Yeah, oh yeah.
but
It's, there's stuff going on, if you're interested in it, spend some time, get on the computer and do some research, because there's a lot there. Okay, third thing I had was Sherman Road. We received a call from one of the residents on Sherman Road who was upset that the speed limit was too high and cars were driving way too fast on Sherman Road. We needed to lower the speed limit, and we could do the lowering of the speed limit. That didn't have to go through the state or any of that sort of stuff. Trying to explain that. Wasn't interested in hearing it. The other thing was the road wasn't wide enough. On the road widened and made so the school buses could pass each other and make the road safe. The road in their mind was too fast and not safe because it's not wide enough. And in order to widen the road, you take out all the trees, put a ditches, and make it almost Sherman Road, all over Sherman Road. So I don't know that this person was speaking for the residents, just trying to this person was calling.
Did the person who called, were they informed if they want the road widened, that would require the removal of the trees?
Oh, this didn't,
Because I doubt that they would be in favor of that.
that's a fact that didn't really come, they weren't interested in facts, they were interested more in the complaint.
so I won't be here, so,
I'm not touching that.
but
I'm only bringing it up to let you know that.
Well,
Comments.
I agree that Sherman Road should be wide. Because of, Sunbury Parkway and how that's being dumped into Sherman Road. I think ODOT should pony up money towards it, but they're wanting us to give it to them money. I don't see it getting done. But I
I
actually
see the
think.
traffic on Sherman Road, but I don't see anything that happened on Sherman Road.
Right, but for the record, do think it needs white, but I know the consequence of that, because it's beautiful as it is, and people want to wire without getting rid of the trees. We can't do
It's
that.
not possible.
So, but that's a decision a future board has to make.
And what I foresee is that people will come north on 71, get off at the Sunbury Parkway and be able to move around and get on Sherman Road to go over to get to the boat ramp, to get to the boat ramp, to get to the campground, and do all that sort of stuff.
To go down, Cheshire Road. That's just the way, I mean, the flow, and there's, would they know what they're doing?
I do wonder about potentially reducing the speed limit once the traffic increases.
A future board will have to decide that. I'm not for reducing speed limits, but I won't be here, so I don't really want to fight the fight that I'm not going to be here to fight.
That's fair.
Anyhow, that's all I got. That was the 3 late items. And then just heads up.
Okay, thank you.
The lady who called or had a public record request about Creative Minds Academy too just emailed me to say, sorry, wrong state. You bet.
I had just one quick item, posted the job for the assistant to the fiscal officer position. We have received like 50 plus applications. The notifications are coming to me.
I have not gotten anything from Indeed.
Because they added even your email, so you at least should have gotten an invite to join.
I checked spam this morning.
Yeah.
Didn't get anything.
Okay.
So when you say applications, are they real applications or are they just a note saying I'm interested?
They include the resume, and so they're not our application,
Okay.
but they do all include the resume and the full dossier of their work experience. So let me look into that and we'll figure out how to get you access.
Okay, I have no late items. Anything else for the good of the order?
There's one thing that I picked up there.
Oh, yes. I actually am very pleased that's going to happen, and I'm very thankful it's in Orange.
What is this?
It's the bilingual interpreter.
Oh, yes.
I don't want to be anywhere near that during construction, but it'll be lovely when it's done. Anything else for the good of the order?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved by trustee Bullard, seconded by trustee Rail. Please call the roll.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Rail,
Yes.
Bullard,
Yes.
We are adjourned.
at 8:30 on the nose.
And I brought this book because it just shows the projects and all that sort of stuff. It's the TIP program, Transportation Improvement Program, 2629.
So, I always was trying